Alright, can everybody see this? You can only guess what movie I saw. Yeah, that's right. Oz the Great and Powerful. I just saw it. And I'm using my new tripod, which I didn't spend money off of you guys that I got from you, no. But I would like that, so keep watching my videos. Okay, now to the point. Okay, Oz the Great and Powerful. I just saw it tonight. My first reaction to the trailers and stuff was, okay, well they'll have a nice little adventure movie with little homages maybe to the original. Not a lot of homages, it seems. At least enough that I can't count on one hand. I mean, if more than that, definitely. But a lot of them were nice, and actually I think it was the deciding factor in whether or not this movie was good. Which you might look at as a good thing, you might also look at as a bad thing. But anyways, let's, I don't know, I guess I'll just get started. Sam Raimi directed this, and it's, the guy who made Spider-Man, so you know it's going to have, some entertainment value. And it does have a certain entertainment value up to a point, and then it kind of becomes a little bit kind of childish, which, it's a Disney movie, so you can expect a little bit of that. And also a little bit of it is probably, too, I'm trying to think of the word, but I can't, too showy, I guess. Some of it, sometimes it's just the visual effects are just kind of a little more obvious than I would like them to be, but for the most part the visual effects were actually one of the best parts of the film. And I'm kind of picky when it comes to it. CGI and stuff, I can pick it out as, easy as that, but for the most part, this was pretty good. Let's see, I'm trying to think. As far as the story goes, the story centers around the future Wizard of Oz, what's his name? Oscar Diggs, I believe. And he played by James Franco, who did a really nice job. I thought he was nice in this. And he's got an Oscar nomination before, so he's done good work. He is basically a Kansas magician who is a wannabe. And, fake, obviously, since all this stuff. And there was one really big problem with this that I'm pretty sure was, not intentional, but the movie is set in supposedly 1905. That's 30-some years before the original, supposedly. And yet he's telling the Munchkins in one scene to take 5. You've seen it in a lot of commercials, I'll bet. Back in 1905, Take 5, I don't think that existed. I don't know, it might have in stage play, but I'm not 100% sure. But definitely a Kansas man who's, basically he said he's had a farming family, wouldn't have been to Broadway recently, so, and especially not a Broadway rehearsal, so, yeah. And, and for the most part, there wasn't a whole lot of in-jokes, like you didn't get a Kardashians joke or something, obviously, but I mean it wasn't that stupid. But there were a couple little things here and there that he did that were kind of quips, to try to be funny, that I thought, 1905 man is probably not going to do that. And then the whole first, I don't know, 20 minutes or so, 15, 20 minutes, is a nice homage and a nice kind of almost rip-off of the original Wizard of Oz, which means it's in black and white, and we get introduced to these characters that we're going to see later, and a few characters were introduced to, and actors that after they changed into makeup and stuff, or in that case, in the original it was they changed makeup and they're totally new characters now, or in this case some of them get CGI'd, I guess you could call it. Then they become a totally different character, like the Zach Braff character and the Michelle Williams character and so on. They just like in the original, when you had like the 3 farmers became the Cowardly Lion, the Tin Man, and the Scarecrow, and it's nice stuff like that. And then of course there's still the Cyclone. The tornado comes around and whoops everybody up, or not everybody. In this case, just Diggs, and then he gets sent to Oz. And I thought that opening part was pretty good. It did center, and of course the good thing about it is it still has that tone of the original, which is we're going to use, or not a tone I should say, an aspect of the original, which was, okay, we use a problem that we set in the real world, in the beginning of the movie. We bring it up in Oz in a different format, in a, for a different person or a different creature or whatever. And that's really nice. I don't think it's a big spoiler or anything, but in the beginning of the film, Oscar's, the big magician at this circus show, and one of his audience members that we focus on is unable to walk. It's a little girl, maybe 9, 10 years old, who can't walk, and she's basically handicapped. And they wheel her around. That I didn't mean anything like I'm not punching her or anything. But anyways, then in Oz, they get to this place called Chinatown, which was kind of funny actually. Which is basically like a whole bunch of teapots and stuff made of china. And they made a China girl. Tiny little, kind of like a doll figure. Kind of like Barbie, except a little bit funnier. And a little bit more, gutso. But anyways, she, has, her legs are broken off. And Diggs, obviously, in the 1905 Kansas world, cannot fix a little, probably terminally ill girl who can't use her legs. Here he can, in the magical land of Oz, he can glue the legs back together, and that's a nice little moment. It's kind of a sweeter moment actually, and it was kind of a moment I didn't expect we were going to get out of it. It was kind of a little sad, but it's a Disney movie, so they got to try to pull on the heartstrings just a little bit. Okay, so then Diggs, gets to Oz, and that's the visual splendor in the movie, just the CGI, the use of it, and the visual effects, how they're planned up, are really, really original in this film. I thought it was a nice, it's one of those movies that follows the footsteps of Avatar and Alice in Wonderland, especially since it's the same studio. They use the big visual format and the big CGI set pieces and art design that are going to win Oscars, at the end of the year, maybe. But this is just March, so we have 11 months to go. So yeah, as long as Die Hard, Good Day to Die Hard doesn't get any nominations, I'm good with that. Especially not in directing or picture or anything like that. Oh, that would be a disaster. But anyways, if we look at this film after that, then it kind of starts. You start to get the pattern of it, which is it's going to be kind of like the original Wizard of Oz, except maybe a step quicker and with a male lead instead of a female lead. And a lot of the visual elements of the original are changed a little bit. Probably number one because of copyright issues, and number two because they don't want to 100% rip off the original. That I kind of found refreshing and nice, and nice little throwbacks, and then of course it kind of in this story explains how the wizard got to this. Generally in that stuff, like the prequel to the X-Men movie, X-Men First Class, whatever. Generally that stuff I'm pretty critical of. I'm pretty hard-edged because they have to get it just right. Like the prequel trilogy of Star Wars, they had to get it just right, or else it made the original films, look bad. And in this case, I think they pulled it off pretty well. I've seen it pulled off better, I've seen it pulled off way worse, I can tell you that. But definitely this was, not bad. I give them some props. I remove my hat to them. However, there was one element. Now, if you know anything about the original books or the just a little bit more background into the story of the original Wizard of Oz, you'll notice the witches' characters, their names. You'll notice that one of them eventually is gonna become a different character later on in the film, and that's about halfway through actually. The actress who they picked to be the villain, sort of evidently what's going to be the next Oz film, I don't know. I think it was the actress's performance of it, but it just didn't click for me, and it felt it didn't feel like a original performance, and it didn't look original, or it didn't look great. It wasn't a very good transformation, whoever it was. And then the actress who they picked, who portrayed it and became the witch that we see later, it came off as pure imitation, especially the cackle. The cackle was just not what I was expecting, and it kind of makes me want to listen to almost like a soundtrack or a version or something of that laugh in the background or something, just so my ears can get fixed or something. And this film does bring up to mind, of course, the fact that the original Wizard of Oz was a big success, and we should still be watching it. And it does make me want to go watch the original Wizard of Oz, well, one, to kind of wash out all the bad stuff I saw in this, which there wasn't a whole lot. I give the film like a 7 out of 10. The Hobbit, basically, over again, as far as ratings go. I give it a 7 out of 10, so that means it's not bad, but it's nothing, that's going to get me back into the theater again. However, it's, the first really, really big movie of the year as far as box office potential, which, hang on, I might just stop this review and go see maybe what the early grosses are indicating. But I can tell you the theater I was at, hometown theater, it was nicely packed. It wasn't totally packed. It's not a Marvel crowd. That's what I call it now anymore, or like a Batman crowd, because it's not a superhero movie. Basically, the only movies I go to anymore where the theater is absolutely jam-packed are superhero movies. The Hobbit wasn't even close to packed when that came out. Skyfall wasn't that packed. I can imagine maybe Twilight might have been more packed, but I wasn't there. No way, no. I'm trying to think, what else have I seen? Even The Amazing Spider-Man wasn't that packed, but that was over a 4th of July vacation, thing weekend, so a lot of people had met, and I saw it like a week after it had come out, so that was probably why. But a lot of these other ones, like the Avengers, I saw the opening weekend. It was actually on a Sunday. I was busy the whole weekend. I had no chance to see the Avengers up until that Sunday. But still, on Sunday, generally are not very good crowds for movies. It was the Avengers, so there was a really nice turnout. And then I went to the midnight show of The Dark Knight Rises back in July, and I don't think there was 1 or 2 empty seats in the house. That was nicely packed. So here, it's the nicest I've seen my local theater packed since probably Batman, but that's in a different context though. And of course, this was a lot of family audiences. I was probably the oldest person there who wasn't, past the age of 50 or past the age of 30 without kids. So that, I don't know, maybe that should indicate something. But I've heard predictions all over the map on this film being anywhere. This film's going to open up to $100 million. This film's going to open up to $60 million. Anywhere in between there. I'd say it's looking right now at 70, but I can double check. In fact, I think I'm going to stop this review and come back in just a second. I rock, totally. I just read a report said it's tracking at just short of $80 million. So yeah, I was pretty close. Okay, so what else have I got to say about the film? The visual effects were a nice splendor. The art direction was really, really fantastic. I don't think I mentioned that. Acting was mostly solid. The direction was actually pretty nice. Sam Raimi did a nice job with this, and he included his usual Sam Raimi-isms in there. You get some of the nice camera work, and you get the Bruce Campbell cameo like in all the Spider-Man movies, and you get a lot of that, bigger than it is feel that generally you get, like the Spider-Man films. A lot of that, it looks more expensive than it was, and that's a nice thing that Raimi will get that maybe other directors won't. And I'm trying to think what else. I was impressed. A lot of the visual effects were impressive. The story, could have used a little tweaking here and there maybe to get out of the almost formulaic way it kind of resolved itself and the formulaic way it set up its finale. Like everything except the beginning was kind of formulaic. So you could once you get past that, it's a really good film actually. So yes, I recommend it. Family audiences will eat it up. Little kids will eat it up. Even the grown-ups who remember maybe seeing some re-releases of The Wizard of Oz in theaters will definitely look at this in retrospect and say that it's an entertaining film. And there are little things here and there I should have. I had the time and everything. I don't know why I didn't review the original Wizard of Oz again, just to watch it again before seeing this, but, and I definitely should have, but if they're doing this like a trilogy, like they evidently said they are now, Disney, because they're going to get their budget back, at least domestically, because if it opens to 80 million, then tracking ahead they'll be fine, because up until, for the next couple weeks there isn't too much that'll come out that'll totally drag their box office numbers down below, like the $20–30 million mark, which up until now we're lucky if a film gets close to that. So So definitely, Disney will keep these films rolling. We hope. We hope they keep Sam Raimi, because Raimi, I think, was what saved this project. I think if they would have stuck in hardly, any other director who, could have, pulled off the visual effects the way that Raimi did. If they could have, they could have put in. I hate to say it, God help me, Michael Bay. They could have brought in. I'm trying to think what else. U-Bolt? No, okay, not that bad. No, Disney's smart enough. They could have pulled in, yes, maybe. I just thought it came across my mind. They could have brought in one of their Disney directors. They could have brought in Gore Verbinski, who's currently doing the Lone Ranger, which is due out in July. I saw a preview for that. That's probably why that came to mind. They could have put in one of their Marvel directors. They could have put in Jon Favreau. They could have asked him to do it. I think, what is he working on? I forget, but could have pulled it, could have called him in. Maybe I don't know, but Raimi was a really nice choice here, and I think he helped. He definitely helped the project. And one thing I had to mention, the score by Danny Elfman was really good. His scores, I think, in the past, from what I've heard of him anyways, I haven't heard him compose a score really for a little while, but this was one of his better scores. The opening theme to this was actually really, really good. It was a little bit reminiscent maybe of like Edward Scissorhands, but that might have been, I don't know, maybe because the opening credits kind of almost resembled that a little bit. And it was kind of a little bit also of like Beetlejuice, kind of, or a little bit of, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, that's the other one that I wanted to mention in there that reminded me of. But yes, I definitely recommend this for family audiences who haven't had much to see in the last few weeks. The Jack and the Giant Slayer, which I haven't seen, nor do I want to see it. Movie didn't open too well, so yes, family audiences are bouncing back for this one. Definitely go see, especially if you're a family, and if you're a fan of the original, I'd say check it out. I'd say maybe don't go this weekend. Maybe wait a little bit, but definitely have sometime see Oz the Great and Powerful. What are they going to do for a sequel? I don't know, but I thanked God, and this was the one thing I said, if I walk out of this movie and say, I can't believe they did that, then this movie's screwed. And that, I can't believe they did that. That being, of course, what if they set this up so that it ends with Dorothy's house coming down? If they would have ended it like that, screw the sequels, screw any other potential plan you have this. Now you basically have to remake The Wizard of Oz, which, if Disney is smart, they're not going to do any time in the near future, because they have to realize, okay, we can do a prequel. We can probably try again on the sequel, because I know Return to Oz I've not didn't do too well. Nobody hardly remembers it, whereas The Wizard of Oz is a timeless movie. They could try again on the sequel, but if they're smart, they won't remake Wizard of Oz, because they should realize, like I just said, it's a timeless film. Nobody is ever going to top the visual wonder and imagination that stimulates us the way that the original Wizard of Oz did. That's kind of set in a fantasy world. The Lord of the Rings films definitely come close. Not Star Wars, the Star Trek films, and well, I guess you could throw in the Star Wars movies, but those are set in space. Even if Star Wars does stimulate us beyond that, maybe it's in space, so it kind of doesn't count. The Harry Potter films, they really stimulate us too, but not as much as Wizard of Oz. And I think they should just realize that you can't pull off a miracle twice. You can't remake a film and say, even though the story would have been there, they obviously could have gotten Dorothy through it again. And for the small children who haven't seen the film, the original film, which I definitely say, parents, if you're listening to this, show your kids, if you haven't already, the original Wizard of Oz. Find a DVD copy of it or something, and show it to them. Show them the magical wonder that you yourself were probably shown when you were a little child too. Show them that, and show them how wonderful the film is. And definitely, Disney, do not remake the film. Be very careful with what you do now that you have you have the Oz name to you now. You don't have, evidently, they don't have the visual copyright things. They can't, you know, recreate exactly the Wicked Witch of the West. They can't, you know, exactly recreate the, you know, the famous Emerald City. They can't recreate every last element of everything. So be very careful, Disney, in your planning of the future. Bring in some smart writers. Keep Sam Raimi. Keep the cast, you know, the cast definitely should do some work here and there just to, you know, just to maintain their good acting skills, definitely. And for one actress in particular, work on your evil cackle, please. Yes, that's all I have to say. If you have the time, go see it. If you want to.